We're on.
Okay, so I brought two books that I want to talk to you guys about that I really enjoyed reading. So the first one is Goonie Bird Green. I'm going to read from the book first, and then I'm going to talk about it. There was a new student in Water Tower Elementary School. She arrived in October after the first month of school had already passed. She opened the second grade classroom door at 10 o'clock on a Wednesday morning and appeared there all alone, without even a mother to introduce her. She was wearing pajamas and cowboy boots and was holding a dictionary and a lunchbox. "Hello, Mrs. Pigeon," the second grade teacher said. "We're in the middle of our spelling test." "Good," said the girl in pajamas. "I brought my dictionary. Where's my desk?" "Who are you?" Mrs. Pigeon asked politely. "I'm your new student. My name is Goonie Bird Green. That's green with a silent E at the end, and I just moved here from China. I want a desk right smack in the middle of the room, because I like to be right smack in the middle of everything." The class stared at the new girl with admiration. They had never met anyone like Goonie Bird Green. She was a good student. She sat down at the desk Mrs. Pigeon provided, right smack in the middle of everything, and began doing second grade spelling. She did all of her work neatly and quickly, and she followed instructions. But soon it was clear that Goonie Bird was mysterious and interesting. Her clothes were unusual, her hairstyles were unusual, even her lunches were very unusual. At lunchtime on Wednesday, her first day in the school, she opened her lunchbox and brought out sushi and a pair of bright green chopsticks. On Thursday, her second day at Water Tower Elementary School, Goonie Bird Green was wearing a pink ballet tutu over green stretch pants, and she had 3 small red grapes, an avocado, and an oatmeal cookie for lunch. Now I'm going to show you a picture of her. That's Goonie Bird Green on her first day of school. She's wearing her pajamas, cowboy boots, she has her lunchbox, and there's the dictionary right in her hand. I'm going to show you the picture of her from her second day of school. There she is. She's wearing a tutu, polka dot shirt, green pants underneath. She's wearing pigtails again. So this was Mrs. Pigeon's second grade class's first introduction to Goonie Bird Green. So later, when they are learning about stories and how to write them and what goes in them, it's no surprise that their class wants to hear a story from her. So she promises to tell them an absolutely true story about herself. And the first story she decides to tell is the one of how she got her name, Goonie Bird, because that's not really a common name, is it? So I'm going to read to you from the book the first part of the story about how she got her name, because it's kind of a long story and I don't want to give away the ending. So it's called How Goonie Bird Got Her Name. Once upon a time, 8 years ago, a man and a woman named Mr. and Mrs. Green, that's green with a silent E at the end, discovered that they were expecting a baby girl. The man's name was Gordon Green, his wife was Barbara Green. They decided to name their baby girl with their initials, G for Gordon and B for Barbara. They thought of many different names. "Gail Beth," said Mrs. Green. She liked short names. "Gwendolyn Belinda," said Mr. Green. He liked long names. They discussed and discussed. They never argued or fought, but they had many discussions. So that's the first part of how she got her name. And that was only the very first absolutely true story that she told her class. Other stories included how she rode a flying carpet, how she found Napoleon and got diamond earrings from the prince, and why she was late to school, all because she was directing an orchestra. So if you want to find out more about Goonie Bird Green and how she did all of these things, you have to read this book. And this author, Lois Lowry, she has written other Goonie Bird Green books. So if you like this book, the library has a few others that you can read. They have 2 of them. So they have Goonie Bird and the Room Mother and Goonie Bird and All Her Charms. So if you like this book, you can read other books with Goonie Bird in it. And the author also has books that are written for older students. So if you like this book and you want to keep reading other books by her as you get older, you have options to do that. So the second book that I want to talk about is The Talent Show from the Black Lagoon. And it's a Black Lagoon adventure book. And this book is shorter, so it's good for kids who want a quick read or need a little more help reading. So this is all about a talent show. The good thing about this book is that there are multiples. So there's tons of Black Lagoon adventure books. And the library has a few others too, so if you want to find out all about other adventures that the Black Lagoon has, these are some of the ones that your library has that you can read. So this book is all about this main character who's trying to figure out what he's going to do in the talent show, because everyone has to be in the talent show and they have to be there for 1 minute. So I'm going to read a few little sections from this book. So this is chapter 4, Mother Knows Best. I share my problem with my mom. Big mistake. She decides to help me. She suggests that I do a nice little dance. Never. Then she says I have a sweet singing voice. Forget it. Next, she tells me that I have a nice smile. Couldn't I just smile for a minute? I don't think so. And here's a picture. There's him tap dancing. Here's him trying to sing. And there's him just standing for a minute smiling. Now she really puts on her thinking cap. I'm in big trouble. I know, she says, you can learn to play the piano. And before I can throw up or even yell, she's already calling Mrs. Fumble the piano teacher. Oh great, now I have to take piano lessons. And I'm going to read another little section from farther on in the book where he's talking to his friends about what they're going to do in the talent show. Chapter 7, Showbiz Gossip. I call all the other kids to hear how they're doing. Eric tells me all his jokes. I've heard them before, and they're about as funny as a math test. Freddie shares his recipe for apple turnovers. It sounds like the only thing it will turn over is your stomach. Derek says he's a little dizzy from all the hula hooping. Randy the Magnificent tells me that great magicians never give away their tricks. Penny says her lips are in a cast. She's spending them practicing. And Doris asks me if I have any feathers for her costume. This is going to be quite a show. I can see it now. And here's a picture. That's Penny, and she has a cast on her lips because she was practicing her lip singing too much. So if you want to find out what he decides to do in the talent show and what his friends do and what happens at the talent show, you need to read this book.